Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the It's the Pictures podcast. This is episode number 212. Today, we'll be talking about our most anticipated films of 2026. I'm really excited to get going. It's the Pictures podcast. Another great episode. I'm here with my co-host, Evan Crean. How you doing, Evan?
I'm hanging in there, Max. How about you?
Yeah, it's going well here. We both live in New England. I was talking to you before the show that I really love football. I know that unlike John Gilpatrick who used to be on the show, we used to barb about football and fantasy football, him being a Philadelphia Eagles fan and me being the Patriots fan. I am very excited that the Patriots are back. It's been a long time since the Patriots have been in the Super Bowl or be successful. Of course, I'm being ridiculous because it hasn't been that long since Tom Brady left and we had all those championships. But really excited about the Patriots. But I'm also excited about our main topic this week and talking about all the films we're looking forward to seeing in 2026.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's films from a lot of great directors, Evan. We have films from Christopher Nolan and Steven Spielberg, Greta Gerwig, a whole lot more. I look at the list. Denis Villeneuve. I didn't even know that Dune Part 3 was going to come so soon. So,
Yeah, me neither. I forgot there even was going to be a part 3.
right. So we have a lot of great directors making films this year. A lot of things to look forward to. But there was already a joke on the internet, Evan, where I guess Dune Part 3 and Avengers Doomsday share the same release date in December.
Really?
Yeah, and so I guess Robert Downey Jr. and Timothy Chalamet were bouncing off ideas to mix the day together, similar to Oppenheimer and Barbie a few years back. But I'm saying to myself, there's no way that Dune Part 3 is keeping that date. They're not going to go against Avengers. But yeah, before we get into our feature here, talking about the films we're looking forward to and sharing what films that we were looking forward to last year that we actually saw.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get into the news. And probably the biggest news story is the confirmation that head of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, is stepping down after her tenure. I think she was appointed to the role after Disney purchased Lucasfilm, so she's kind of overseeing not only Star Wars but Indiana Jones.
It's been about a decade-ish, right?
Yeah, at least. And it's not a position that's been without controversy. There's certainly, quote, Star Wars fans who have been angry at her for whatever choices she made, and
When are they not angry?
whether or not it's just because she's a woman or because they have some kind of agenda that they're not happy about. There's certainly been a lot of fuss over her era of Lucasfilm, and for everybody who loved a film like The Last Jedi and the chances it took, there was people who were equally disappointed. She said in an exit interview, Evan, that was posted on Deadline, that she kind of regrets doing the Han Solo movie and that they were already too deep into it until they realized that no one could replace Harrison Ford in that role as long as Harrison Ford is alive.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's not like they picked the most charismatic guy to play Han Solo either. No offense to Alden Ehrenreich, I just don't think he's that guy.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing, right? It's even if they want to make more Indiana Jones films, I think again, Ford has to be kind of not available for the role for that to happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I also saw that she said just nobody is interested in more Indiana Jones films, period. I don't think it's pretty safe to say we're not going to see another one of those. I didn't even see that last one, and I love Indiana Jones.
I kind of like Dial of Destiny. I think it's a better finale than
Crystal Skull.
Crystal Skull was.
Yikes.
Either way, yeah, Kathleen Kennedy's role. I mentioned Last Jedi, but also she's been in charge. Why one of the most acclaimed properties for Star Wars has come out, which is Andor, the TV series. Why I didn't quite finish season 2 myself. It got oodles of accolades at the year-end awards.
Yeah, I know a lot of people love it. I went to start watching season 2, and then I was like, I don't remember anything from season 1, and I'm like, damn it, that means I feel like I should go back and rewatch it, and then I was just like, I don't have the energy right now.
So Do you have any thoughts or feelings on Kathleen Kennedy's era or how
I
she
mean,
shepherded Star Wars the last?
I think she did a pretty damn good job, all things considered. I mean, I unbalanced liked a lot of the stuff that's been coming out of the Star Wars, franchise, and so good for her. She have a replacement? Have we heard a replacement for her yet?
Yeah, I think it's like a combination of like Dave Filoni, who was kind of the showrunner on the Ahsoka live action series,
Mm-hmm.
and like one other person over at like Lucasfilm.
Okay.
It won't be like unfamiliar faces by any means, but I think like she stepped down right after like they finished wrapping on the new Ryan Gosling Star Wars movie like that.
Yeah, Starfighter.
Yeah, that was like important for her to like finish before she left.
I heard that Tom Cruise showed up in a helicopter in the set of that movie and shot a scene or something like that, like a lightsaber fight or some crap like that.
Oh, that'd be wild.
I mean, it probably happened, right? This Tom Cruise. This kind of stuff he does.
Right. So yeah. So I guess yeah. Right. So the two movies that we have to look forward to, I guess, still in her run are that one Starfighter and Mandalorian Grogu, which is coming
Mm-hmm.
out in summer. But yeah. Whether I mean Kathleen Kennedy certainly had quite the career before even this era of Lucasfilm, with working with Steven Spielberg for all those years
Mm-hmm.
and other roles as an executive producer. So if she wants to work outside of Star Wars, I'm sure she'll find plenty of opportunity.
Yeah, agreed. Do you have any thoughts on Kathleen Kennedy's departure?
Well, not particularly. Like I said, like I think Star Wars is just as popular, or even more popular than it's ever been, and she certainly hasn't diluted the brand. I think
No.
if people think like Episode 9 kind of like did like major damage to Star Wars, I don't think necessarily that's the case. I think that's just like in the minds of like the internet as opposed to anyone at large.
Right. But I mean, Star Wars is so much bigger now than just the movies. Like they have this like stable of TV shows and other things. There's so many stories going. There's video games now. There's so many more in ways that just weren't when we were growing up. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like we had the movies and we had some books that the people were writing in the expanded universe, and then we had like a few video games here and there with some like cheesy like video graphics.
Yeah, it took a long time for like a decent Star Wars game to come out.
Right.
Those Super Nintendo adaptations weren't it.
Well, those were quite a bit of fun, even though they were insanely hard.
Yeah.
I have Empire Strikes Back on SNES, and that game is very hard.
Okay. What else I put on the list here, Evan, is that I guess South by Southwest decided to share some of the films that they'll be having at the festival because that's just right around the corner. One that I'm particularly looking forward to that didn't make my list is Ready or Not 2. I was a big fan of that
Yeah.
first film, and I think the second one is going to have a premiere there. In addition, director Boots Riley has his new film, his sophomore film, I Love Boosters, premiering at South by Southwest. I put this on the film on our list of discussion today because Evan and I actually saw Boots Riley's first film together. Sorry to bother you.
Yeah, a rather
Uh,
unique situation. I was supposed to interview Boots Riley about the film, and I needed to see it, and they're like, "Well, we're not going to do screener links, so you can go to a movie theater by yourself and watch it if you want, or you can invite people with you." So I was like, "Hey, Max, you want to come watch a movie?" And it was like me, Max, and my wife, and we were just the three of us sitting with the press rep in the theater watching this movie together.
and if you haven't seen Sorry to Bother You, it's definitely a unique movie.
It takes a turn for sure.
So I don't know necessarily like if I'm looking forward to I Love Boosters, but he's gotten quite a fun cast of characters, including like Don Cheadle, Lakia Stanfield, Taylor
Hmm.
Page, Kiki
Yeah, looks like
Palmer.
Demi Moore, Poppy Liu, Will Poulter.
Yeah, so quite the cast for this one. So
Hmm.
it's basically the log line says a crew of professional shoplifters take aim at a cutthroat fashion maven.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah, we'll see soon. Of course, Sundance is right around the corner. We'll hear more about the films there before South by Southwest. But yeah, films don't stop, Evan. They keep on coming.
That is true. Yes, they do.
And then the last thing I want to mention before our feature is we're recording this on MLK Jr. Day, and it's only 3 days before the Oscar nominations are announced. And I know, I think like our show doesn't like make a loud noise about Oscars, Evan. I mean, like, we vote at end of the year stuff and give our opinions on like the best of the year, but as far as like following the race or really seeing what films are winning what awards, we haven't been following it. And I certainly am personally opposed to watching the Golden Globes, so I didn't even bother with that.
Yeah, I don't really watch any award shows. The Oscars is the only one that I tune into.
So, I guess on the outline I wrote like Oscar season thoughts before the nominations are announced. I don't know if thoughts is the right thing. Like, is there like a performance that you feel that was like on the bubble that you wish would get nominated come Thursday morning, or anything that you can think of that maybe an actor or actress or movie that didn't get enough attention this Oscar season?
None is immediately coming to mind. I would say I'm probably poorly prepared for this discussion point. But, I mean, I will be shocked if One Battle After Another is not nominated for a million things based on how much critics groups have loved it.
Yeah, that's true. It certainly is the favorite going into Thursday morning, and I wouldn't be surprised if it matches some kind of record for nominations or something. I mean, I guess the thing against it is that it doesn't really have an original song. So, like, I guess like any movie that really has gotten the most nominations had like songs and scores and all those things, as well as having all this support. Definitely, we could see it in almost every acting category. You could see it in director and picture, screenplay. So you could easily see it nominated for like 7 or 8 things at least.
Yeah.
For me, like, I was really disappointed. Like, so I told you I don't take the Globes really seriously, but the other one I do take seriously is the Screen Actors Guild. And if you're not really nominated in that by your peers in the Screen Actors Guild, the chances that you are nominated Oscar morning for a acting performance are very slim. And I talked about Amanda Seyfried's performance in The Testament of Anne Lee before, and that was my favorite performance of the year. And I'll be pretty disappointed if she doesn't at least get a nomination. It's just not looking good. The film, I guess, open and limited if you're in the Boston area and you listen to this podcast. I guess like it's showing up there in 70mm now, so it's definitely quite the experience to take in. So I'd recommend checking it out.
Sweet.
All right, so moving on, let's go to our feature, and this is where we share our most anticipated of 2026. Over the years, we've kind of worked on this format instead of just making like another top 10 list, because it kind of ran into issues where we were giving our top 10 movies of the year, and then we were doing a top 10 most anticipated, and it felt like kind of like too samey as a back-to-back podcast type of thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we kind of like split it up into categories, and so that way audiences, if they're looking for a specific genre of film, they can be excited about that. At this point of the year, in January, we're only able to give like the broadest of looks, right? Because if you have a movie that's coming out in February, March, or April, we're going to know a lot more about it right now than a movie coming out in November.
Right, or a movie we know is coming out but doesn't necessarily have like a release date yet.
So do with that information what you will. But I guess last year, I'll start, Evan, for my 2025 list. Some of the movies that didn't come out or I didn't see were like The Bride, which is the Maggie Gyllenhaal directed Bride of Frankenstein movie, which we'll be seeing in theaters soon. I put that in the science fiction. Prestige movies, because I thought the Celine song Materialist would do better than it did. I never actually ended up seeing that. Mother Mary got pushed to 2026. And for my wild card, I had Edgar Wright's The Running Man, and that I didn't see that.
Yeah, I missed that one too. I'm actually looking through my list, and I saw a good number of the ones that were on my list.
So why don't you share your list?
So let's see. Love Hurts, Cleaner, Nobody 2, Roofman. I didn't see Nobody 2 or Roofman, but I saw the others. Love Me, Mickey 17, Ash. Didn't see Mickey 17, but saw the others. Wake Up Dead Man, Novocaine, Presence, The Monkey, 28 Years Later, Megan 2.0, My Dead Friend Zoe, Tron Ares, Companion, Black Bag, and The Running Man. So, yeah, I need to get on seeing The Running Man, that's for sure.
Did you end up seeing Tron Ares?
No, I still haven't watched it. I haven't been brave enough to do it yet.
Yeah, I think they just added that one to Disney.
It did, yeah. I did see it show up there.
And all I say is like it's not terrible. I get not liking Jared Leto, and that's like that's like a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed myself watching it in the theaters, and certainly the Nine Inch Nails soundtrack helps.
Oh yeah, I bet. I'm sure that goes a long way.
Yeah. All right. So on a whole, we did pretty good last year. I actually got. I guess Roofman just came out on like 4K. I got like a press copy of that, and I'm looking forward to watching that. That's like the Channing Tatum movie.
Yeah, Derek, in France.
Yeah.
I think.
Kirsten Dunst. So yeah, I'm kind of interested in seeing that. But
Yeah, me too.
But now we'll go into 2026 and. Some of the genres we'll be looking at is action, science fiction, fantasy, comedy, horror, your prestige end of the year type stuff, any wild card movies, and our most anticipated. Then added some thrillers he was looking forward to as well.
Yeah. Yes, it did.
So we'll start off with action. You know, Evan and I were talking before the episode where I guess there's like a cliffhanger remake being made, and that was not my action choice, but I was like, that could be really dumb, or it could be even dumber than the original.
Yeah, it's true. I have a weird soft spot for the original. I feel like it was on TV a lot, so I kind of started to really enjoy it, and I'm morbidly curious about them flipping the script and having a female lead for this new one.
Yeah, so I guess I ended up going with Masters of the Universe, which is this based on the He-Man story, and it's been in development for a while, but the cast really isn't what excites me, because that has Nicholas Galitis or whatever his name is. I'm looking at his movies, like, I have not seen anything that he was in outside of Bottoms, so I guess he's He-Man, and
Gotcha.
they have Camila Mendez, who I know most for being Riverdale, and Alison Brie and Idris Elba. And I guess Jared Leto is Skeletor. So,
boy, Jared Leto as Skeletor.
Yeah.
He's totally gonna do the voice too.
Yeah. But this is directed by Travis Knight, and he was working at what's the animation studio, like the one that's like opposite of Pixar. I don't know.
DreamWorks.
Laika.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the director of Kubo and the Two Strings, and he also directed like the really good Transformers movie Bumblebee, but that was like ages ago, 2018, and starred Haley Steinfeld. And now you look at Haley Steinfeld and like she's married and expecting a child, and you're like, oh, that's crazy. Bumblebee was 8 years ago now, so I'm most interested because he's directing it, and I like Bumblebee and Kubo and the Two Strings, so we'll see what he does ultimately with this story. But that's my action pick, Masters of the Universe.
Sweet. I had two action picks. One, it literally takes 2 seconds to mention why is even a pick of mine, and that's Mortal Kombat 2. And the only reason I'm really even putting this is because Carl Urban is going to be playing Johnny Cage in this movie, and that is, to me, a reason to tune in. I want to see Carl Urban play Johnny Cage. Even though the first Mortal Kombat I thought was alright of this newer run. It was alright. But I'm like, okay, Carl Urban as Johnny Cage, sign me up. Don't really care what else is going on. I mean, I think we're all actually also supposed to get to like the real like tournament in proper in this one, which
that's what killed me about that. That's what killed me about that first one, Evan, is that like it's billed as Mortal Kombat. When I think of Mortal Kombat, I feel like I think of this like tournament, and like there's like no tournament whatsoever in that first movie. And I'm like, let's do it. Maybe Mortal Kombat 2 would be so much better. The movie's I think the release date's been moved around a little bit, and maybe like Warner Brothers has more faith in it than they did originally.
Yeah. Where's our Mortal Kombat without the actual Mortal Kombat? So yeah, my other movie that I had is Roadhouse 2. I was really surprised how much I enjoyed the first Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal, and I see that the director of this one is going to be the same person who did Hardcore Henry and Nobody, and I feel like that could make for a very fun beat 'em up kind of movie. Especially, there's some people in here like Dave Bautista, Aldous Hodge, and supposedly it looks like Peter Sarsgaard and Rob Delaney are in this too. It should be interesting to see where they fit into the mix, as well as like a bunch of other like pro fighters. So this, to me, I'm kind of game because I was caught off guard by how fun the first one was.
Yeah, and it doesn't surprise me that there's a new director for this, Evan, because I think like Doug Liman directed the first one, and he was very like public about being upset that the movie was going to be like a direct to Amazon Prime Video movie and not like get this big theatrical push. And so
Yeah.
it doesn't surprise me that he wasn't on board for another one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
See.
science fiction. I already mentioned Dune Part 3 a little bit. This is supposed to be the end of Denis Villeneuve's trilogy, at least with the story. And I guess like when I read Dune, Evan, I only read the first book. I never read Dune Messiah, which is what this third movie will be presumably based on. So
Uh-huh.
I'm interested to see what they do with this. How they changed the story a little bit. Dune Part 2 gave Zendaya's character Chani a lot more agency in the story.
Mm.
So I wonder how much her part will change from what the text is in Dune Messiah. So, but I thought Dune Part 2 was everything that I could have wanted from an adaptation of that story. Looking forward to the third part. And I wanted to mention this other one because I think it's an original story. Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, this movie is a science fiction adventure story from Ridley Scott called The Dog Stars.
Mm.
And it stars Jacob Elordi in the lead. And its logline is: after the world's population has been ravaged by a pandemic, a man lives a lonesome existence in a Colorado airplane hangar with his dog and a dour gunman he has befriended. When a mysterious transmission comes through on the radio, while he's flying his old Cessna, it sparks a hunt for the provenance of the sound. And
Okay.
I guess like,
Sounds interesting.
I guess I'm surprised that Ridley Scott is still making films.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't think he'll ever stop.
No.
Yeah, he was born in 1937. He's got to be up there now. But I wonder like how big of a science fiction film this will be. Outside of Jacob Elordi, also stars Margaret Qualley, Josh Brolin, Guy Pearce, and Benedict Wong. Yeah, we'll see. Ridley Scott doing science fiction again. I don't think this is going to be Blade Runner or Alien, but we'll see what it is.
Yeah, I mean, props to Ridley Scott. Like you said, he doesn't seem to be slowing down one bit. He's just gonna keep making them till he can't make them anymore. Let's see, so what do I have on my list? So I had, well, I think this is on one of your, this is on your list in a different slot. So I'll be brief and say that Steven Spielberg has a sci-fi movie coming out called Disclosure Day that I'm definitely interested to see. It's his first sci-fi story credit since Close Encounters. You know, I've heard this kind of harkens back to his early 2000s work with Tom Cruise, War of the Worlds, and Minority Report. I guess there's a trailer out for it. I did not watch the trailer, but it involves Emily Blunt playing a meteorologist. A beatboxing conduit for an alien message is what this description says. And then looks like, you know, Steven Spielberg got John Williams to return for one final job.
Another guy who won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop, Mr. Williams. So yeah, I mean, I like a good Steven Spielberg sci-fi movie. I like Steven Spielberg quite a bit as a director. Probably one of my favorites of all time. He's made so many amazing films. You know, he's made his share of bombs like any other director, but if he's making them, I'll show up. I'll get my butt in the seat. And then the others on my list, please don't kill me, people who say Star Wars is fantasy more than sci-fi, is The Mandalorian and Grogu, which is, you know, obviously the film follow-up to the Mandalorian TV show with Written and directed by Jon Favreau, of course, who's worked heavily on the Mandalorian TV show. It's got Pedro Pascal, Sigourney Weaver, Jeremy Allen White, and continuing the story of Din Djarin and Grogu, whatever adventures they're going to have. And I love the TV show so much, I'm showing up for this. I'm excited to see wherever they take the story.
Are you all caught up, even season 3?
Yep, I thought season 3 was amazing. I really loved how action-packed it was, and just so thrilling in places. It was at the edge of my seat so many times during the season, and some great guest stars, some like really good cameos throughout season 3, I thought. And yeah, I'm totally on board for the movie. I'm excited to see what we're doing. Well, it's excited to see what Mandalorian and Grogu are gonna do.
Yeah, and I wonder like how it's going to expand the story. Like, does the movie represent the end of the story, or does the movie represent a bridge into the next chapter? It's going to have to make it feel like people aren't just going to the movies to see an episode of television, right? So that's where...
Right. I think it's trying to fill in some of the blanks between the end of the original series and the new ones that we got with, like, starting in 2015 Force Awakens. I think it's supposed to take place somewhere in between there, like in the days of the kind of earlier days of the New Republic versus like the later days of it.
Okay.
Or latter days, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, I think that one is doing like the traditional Star Wars spot in May.
Yep. May the 4th be with you. But May 22nd, to answer your question.
Yeah. For me, so we're gonna drop into comedy next, and I guess I picked 2 bizarre comedies because, like, I don't know, in this day and age, it's kind of hard to pinpoint what a comedy is at the movie theater. It's not like we're getting like movies like The Hangover and Wedding Crashers anymore that are pretty easy to qualify.
Yeah. A lot of dramedies, a lot of dark, like very dark, like black comedy kind of movies.
Right. I mean, like when you have people saying like something like, I don't know, Marty Supreme is a comedy, or One Battle After Another is a comedy, then how do we really decide what a comedy is?
Yeah, what is this, the Emmys?
But for me, one guy who I consider his work very funny is Ruben Ostlund, and he's the director of Force Majeure, Triangle of Sadness, and The Square. I know some people can't stand him or his comedy, but I've always been pretty fascinated. His last 2 movies, The Square and Triangle of Sadness, both won the Palme d'Or. One is called The Entertainment System is Down, and its premise is that on a long flight where all the entertainment system fails, international passengers have to face the horror of being bored. And
the true horror.
Yeah, this one stars a lot of big stars compared to his last works. I mean, like, Triangle of Sadness had, like, the big name was, I think, like, Woody Harrelson was the big English name. Because, like, the movie had some other great performances, but that was, like, the big name in the log line, where here you have Keanu Reeves, Kirsten Dunst, Daniel Bruhl, Nicholas Braun, Samantha Morton, Vincent Linden, Tobias Menzies, and many others. It's a pretty star-studded movie for him, and going to be a pretty entertaining plane ride, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other comedy is the new... I want to assume it's a mockumentary because that's what John Wilson does. If you've never seen the HBO show How To with John Wilson, there's a documentary filmmaker who they did these like half-an-hour episodes on like topics, and they just went wildly all over the place, and they were like so hilarious and unbelievable. So this one, I guess, is maybe appearing at South by Southwest or Sundance, and the log line is, after attending a workshop how to write and sell a Hallmark movie, filmmaker John Wilson tries to use the same formula to sell a documentary about concrete, and the movie is called The History of Concrete. So, very much looking forward to this. Can't wait to see what actually happens here, and we'll see when that John Wilson movie finally comes out. But been a big fan of his work and always find it funny.
My movie in the comedy category is the long-awaited Coyote versus Acme. The film that Warner Brothers tried to kill but is back from the dead. I mean, it follows Wile E. Coyote's lawsuit against the Acme Corporation after one of their devices blows up in his face. Will Forte is going to play Coyote's lawyer. John Cena is going to play the Acme attorney. I've been wanting to see this for a long time just because I think it's a brilliant freaking idea for a movie, and I can't wait to watch it when it finally comes out in August.
No, I'm sure it's gonna be good. I think I heard rumors that it tested well. It's just like, how could any movie live up to like the kind of anticipation that's been built now by us not being able to see it?
Yeah, of course. But also, like, think about how many people grew up watching Looney Tunes and thought to themselves, man, that Coyote really would have a good case if he went after the Acme people for their faulty products.
All right, Evan, why don't you go ahead and you take the lead on the horror category?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think last year this category was a little more loaded for me in terms of recommendations because I'm such a big horror fan. This year I decided to just kind of keep it a little more simple and just zone in on one movie, and then there's a little bit of horror in some of my other categories, horror and thrillers, but particularly The Mummy. No, not part of that franchise. It's a new Mummy movie that's going to be written and directed by Lee Cronin, who did Evil Dead Rise, which was one of my favorite movies the year it came out. And I just thought it was such a good turn into the Evil Dead franchise that I'm just really excited to see what Lee Cronin's going to do with the Mummy movie. He's described it as ancient and very frightening, leaning into hard horror, into terror rather than adventure. So I'm actually kind of on board with that. I think it could be really interesting. I mean, the Evil Dead Rise was really claustrophobic and full of dread and some pretty gnarly gore. So as much as I normally would say, oh, who cares about another mummy movie or who even cares about mummies in the supernatural sense, I'm kind of interested to see this one. I really think Lee Cronin could do something worth watching.
Yeah, and if our audience decides to find a trailer, I think I saw one like on the internet the other day for this one, and I was like, so like as it was billed, you said like Lee Cronin's The Mummy, and that name didn't necessarily like mean anything to me because I didn't see Evil Dead Rise, and so I was like, oh, it's just another mummy movie. But hearing you talk about it makes me at least want to check out the trailer and see if it would be my bag.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you would like Evil Dead Rise. I'm trying to think. I don't know if it would be your speed, but I thought it was really, really good.
For me, for horror, I went with kind of the easy stuff, more popular, I guess. There is a date on the new Resident Evil adaptation by Zach Kreger, the director of Weapons, for 2026, and I kind of doubt we'll be seeing Resident Evil this year. But just if that's the date they're giving us, then I'm going to include it on my list. I've actually never seen the first Resident Evil. Like, I know that there was like 7 of them, right?
Oh my god, there were so many, Max. There were so many Resident Evil movies with Mila Jovovich.
Yeah, like I heard like the first one is kind of worth watching, even though like it's not like super truthful to the story of Resident Evil. It kind of does its own thing.
Yeah, it kind of does its own thing, and then from there it just really starts doing its own thing, I feel like. But I also never played the games, so I was kind of like, oh, I'm on board for the ride because they were just like, we'll just keep churning them out.
Yeah, but we'll see if Zach Kreger can do Resident Evil appropriately. I mean, he for me, at least he's 2 for 2 of Barbarian and Weapons of telling good horror movies.
Agreed. Yeah, I thought Weapons was one of my favorite films from last year. It made my top 10. So I would definitely watch a Resident Evil movie that he's helming.
And then the other one, this is another director. A lot of people can take him or leave him, and that's Robert Eggers. I know some people like loathe his movies, whereas I'm kind of fascinated by his thoughtfulness and his attention to detail that he does. Even though I didn't find anything too original about his adaptation of Nosferatu, I think it was, it had its heart in the right place, and it certainly followed that story very well. I guess if he is doing a story about werewolves now with pretty much the same cast. The movie is titled werewolf and has Aaron Taylor Johnson, Lily Rose Depp, and William Dafoe really attached as the leads here. So we'll see what that ultimately is.
Yeah, I feel like I'm trying to think of his movies. I feel like I missed a few of them.
The Witch, Lighthouse.
Yeah, I didn't see Lighthouse. I did see Nosferatu, and I was gonna like stylistically, I thought it was really great looking, but the story to me was not resonating as much. So I feel like we'll see about this one.
He did The Northman, which was kind of like more of like an
missed that one too
for him.
So I guess I don't feel strongly enough about him as a take him or leave him. But I would say I'm a little bit on the skeptical side of whether this movie will land with me.
I guess we'll go into Prestige. Evan, why don't you tell me about your Prestige movie? Because I don't think I saw this one when I was looking up my list.
Yep. So I always struggle with this category. I think I mentioned this last year when we talked about this because I don't really consider myself like a prestige-y movie kind of guy. It's not really like my wheelhouse. So I was kind of hunting around, and then I came across this one called Wild Horse 9. It is Martin McDonagh and political paranoia, shifting alliances. It's a 1973 set drama unfolding in Santiago during Chile's infamous military coup. It's got Sam Rockwell, John Malkovich, Parker Posey, Steve Buscemi, Tom Waits, and others, and it's about a group of CIA operatives whose trust fractures during a tense mission that drags them from a destabilized capital to the isolation of Easter Island. This just sounds really tense and really intriguing, and I like the cast. So that's kind of when I came across it, I was like, ooh, this sounds good, and it sounds prestige-y.
Yeah, Martin McDonagh is kind of like a every other film kind of guy for me. I think. I'm looking at the films he directed, but actually I like most of them. I just didn't see Seven Psychopaths, but In Bruges I really like, if you haven't revisited that one in a long time.
I feel like I should.
It's still really, really great. Three Billboards, some people have reservations about that one, but The Banshees of Inisherin is probably his best film. That was really good. No, that was a great pick for Prestige, I think.
Well, thank you.
I think come next fall we'll certainly be hearing about that one.
I suspect. What are your picks for Prestige?
So, I guess I cheated because I picked the two directors of Barbenheimer, being their new films, The Odyssey and Narnia. Of course, Christopher Nolan probably got like a blank check to do whatever he wanted after Oppenheimer swept all the awards and made bank. So, of course, he decided to pick up a small kind of personal project called The Odyssey.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, this is what he wanted to do. All right, okay.
Right, with like adopting one of the most famous stories out there, and just a massive cast. And I guess like at the center of it all is Matt Damon as the lead of his Odyssey story. It would take me like 10 minutes to go down the list of names that are involved with this movie. It's not unlike the Oppenheimer, right? Because he had quite the list of actors in that movie too. I don't know. You see, like, I have no idea what to think about The Odyssey. I think it's like one of those stories that you probably need like a 3.5 hour movie to like really do it
really
justice.
tell it.
But then I can't imagine like a movie like that in 70mm IMAX for like that long of a movie. I don't know. I have no idea what will actually come of this movie. There's been like one trailer, but it doesn't show too much. It came out and was attached to the new Avatar, I think. And I wouldn't even say like I blindly trust Christopher Nolan, because before Oppenheimer came out, I was really tentative. I really didn't like Tenet, and I was kind of like cold to Dunkirk. So I wouldn't say like this is a slam dunk by any means, but I'm still eager to see what he does with it.
I wish I was more eager, because I do really like him as a director, and I feel like I really did like Dunkirk and Tenet, and I thought Oppenheimer was fine, but was not really my cup of tea. So, and this is even less my cup of tea for a story. So I'm like, okay, all right.
And as far as Greta Gerwig, I guess maybe the story of how this film is being developed is more interesting to me than actually Narnia, because I have no frame of reference for the Narnia stories. I didn't grow up reading them. I didn't see the last movie that they tried to adapt Narnia. So it's just a name to me. But apparently Netflix gave her a big bag of money, and she was like, I'm demanding that my film is played in theaters. And so like it has an exclusive IMAX agreement to be played in IMAX before going to Netflix. And like, I think theaters were already angry about that.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in a previous episode. We were talking about it as a news item.
Yeah, and so I don't know. Show me some footage of Narnia, or maybe I need to read the books or do something to be more excited. I mean, like, I like Greta Gerwig as a filmmaker. I'm probably one of the weird ones, and I like Lady Bird the least. And I think like I've enjoyed her films more as she got along. Like I like Little Women quite a bit, and then like Barbie is fantastic. But not sure what to think about Narnia yet.
We'll see. Should we? I guess we'll move on to our wild card.
Yeah.
What have you got?
My 2 wild cards. I'm repeating The Bride this year. I've seen more trailers for it. I've seen more trailers for it, and I think it's coming out at the beginning of March. When I saw a trailer for it last week, I kind of said that Warner Brothers is putting it in the same release date as like Mickey 17 got, so like they're kind of not super excited about its prospects, but they wanted to take a shot on it, and maybe they'll be able to put like Oscar winner Jessie Buckley as the lead, because if she wins the Oscar or something. And I guess she stars opposite Christian Bale, so it's a star-studded cast. But I think it's a musical on The Bride of Frankenstein, so that might be a tough sell. The other one I had just heard of, and I have never seen any of Greg Araki's movies, but he has like a fan following, I think, or like a cult following. And he has this new movie coming out. It's his first in a while, I believe, called I Want Your Sex. And it stars Olivia Wilde and Cooper Hoffman. And I don't know, it just sounded kind of interesting to me. I think it's supposed to be playing at Sundance, so we'll learn more about it very soon. But yeah, that's I Want Your Sex by Greg Araki.
I feel like I don't think I've seen any of his films, but I know he's kind of known for being kind of, pushing the envelope and being very kind of like controversial.
Yeah, I'm looking online. Like his most famous movies like Mysterious Skin in 2004. He had this movie called Nowhere in 1997. I don't know.
Let's see. So what did I have as my wild card? A movie with a very long title. Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. Which, it's Gore Verbinski returning. It's genre-defying sci-fi action comedy. Sam Rockwell. I see it. You got another movie in here with Sam Rockwell in it. Love Sam Rockwell. Haley Lou Richardson, Michael Pena. Time-twisting diner showdown against rogue AI. Also has Zazie Bates, Juno Temple. And it was involving some dark humor, existential loops, pop chaos, into a Maximus genre puzzle, a kind of high-concept chamber piece where every reset adds another layer of dread and comedy. It just sounds so out there. I'm kind of like, sure, sign me up for whatever this like bonkers movie is going to be.
It looks funny. I think I saw a trailer recently of it. And it kind of gave me like Terminator 2 vibes a little bit, coming from the future, trying to convince people. But I assume there's a lot more there than that.
Yeah, I mean, and if someone's gonna sell me on a bonkers premise, Sam Rockwell is gonna be the person to do it, or one of the people to do it, because he's just gonna go for broke with it, chew the scenery and everything.
Why don't you move into your thrillers, Evan?
Sure. So I had a couple thrillers here. First was a movie called They Will Kill You, which is a great title, I think. It's a horror action thriller. It's got Zazie Bates, Mahala, Tom Felton, Heather Graham, Patricia Arquette. It follows a young woman who takes a housekeeping job in a luxury New York apartment building, only to discover its residents belong to a murderous cult with a history of disappearances. It says, mixing the claustrophobic intensity of The Raid with dark humor of Ready or Not. It marks the first production from Nocturna, the new horror label from Andy and Barbara Muschietti, in partnership with Skydance. And so, yeah, sounds like it could be really thrilling and very creepy. And then my other thriller is called Panic Carefully, which is coming at us from Sam Esmail of Mr. Robot fame, and also reunites him with Julia Roberts, who he worked with on Leave the World Behind, which I actually thought was a pretty good movie. And it also has Elizabeth Olsen, Eddie Redmayne, Brian Tyree Henry, Joe Alwyn, and others. And there's not much on it other than this description says leans into his precise tech noir sensibility for a character-driven suspense story built around secrecy, surveillance, and trust under pressure. Yeah, I mean, I thought he did pretty good with Julia Roberts in Leave the World Behind, and I like Mr. Robot, and I was really interested in the secrecy, surveillance, and trust under pressure part of this description. So these are a couple thrillers that caught my attention.
Yeah, I like those creators. I have not heard too much about those thrillers, but I'll have to look into them more. But now we're going to move on to our most anticipated section. Out of all the films we looked at, these are the ones that we kind of thought were at the top of our list. For me, the aforementioned Disclosure Day by Steven Spielberg is way up there for me. Him doing science fiction once again. Makes me really excited. Josh O'Connor was really excellent in Wake Up Dead Man, and he had quite the 2025. So we'll see what he can do as leading man status here, and Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day. You know, Spielberg's another director that I can't imagine has too many more films in him. So, I'm excited to see what ultimately a Steven Spielberg blockbuster looks like in 2026, right? We said like we were celebrating the 50th anniversary of Jaws just last year.
Yeah, it's true.
So like he's made a ton of films over the years, and yes, some stinkers, but quite a lot of classics. I was watching a video, Evan, of him getting the Oscar for Schindler's List, and that year he absolutely dominated the Oscars because he had Jurassic Park and Schindler's List there. And
wow, that's quite a year.
So not only did he win like everything for like drama, but also things in the tech industry and everything. So yeah, Spielberg, one of our greats. Of course, I was looking forward to that. And the other one was one that I thought was going to come out last year, which is this movie called Mother Mary. It's from director David Lowery, who, you know, I interviewed a few years back. And so since then, and you know, I've always enjoyed his movies. He's directed movies like the Peach Dragon remake, The Old
quite
Man,
good.
Man and the Gun, A Ghost Story. And most recently, he did The Green Knight, which I really loved. So I was looking forward to his next film, and we finally saw our first trailer for Mother Mary recently, and it has Anne Hathaway and Michaela Cole in it. So yeah, that looks really interesting still to me, and can't wait to actually see it.
Cool. Yeah, we'll finally get to see it this year.
I'm also looking forward to your most anticipated film, Evan.
Awesome. Yeah. Been a big fan of Sam Raimi for a long time. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the Evil Dead movies. Moderate fan of this. I never loved his take on Spider-Man, but I feel like it was a lot of that was due to the fact that I just never really liked Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Yeah, I mean, I like his work in horror. Like, Drag Me to Hell was a lot of fun. And so he's got a movie called Send Help, which is, this description says it blends survival tension with slapstick dread. Could not pick more accurate description of what Sam Raimi does in the horror genre. But it's got Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien as bickering coworkers stranded on a remote island after a plane crash. This is part black comedy, part pulp nightmare. It marks Raimi's return to practical mayhem, with the setup essentially forcing two people who can't stand each other to improvise teamwork while the island keeps escalating the punishment. So yeah, that sounds like a blast, and I am really excited to see what Sam Raimi does with it.
And Evan, if you haven't seen, like, even if you don't watch trailers or haven't seen a trailer for this, they did a piece of like terrific marketing for this movie where they had like Rachel McAdams pretend like she sent a Survivor kind of like entrance tape and to show like all her survival skills.
Boy.
To try to be on Survivor, and it's just like very funny, like kind of like, oh yeah, this is the type of person that would do such a thing. I'll
have to check that out. So is it Rachel McAdams herself or her playing the character from this movie submitting?
I think it's her playing the character from the movie.
Gotcha. Okay. Now I definitely need to see this because that's a really fun little piece of marketing.
But yeah, I think I got my first issue of Fangoria recently because I was sent the magazine as like winning a contest or something, and Send Help was definitely featured in there. Like, it's on the front cover.
Nice.
Looking forward to that one, and I'll have another movie to talk about after our station identification. That was definitely featured in there. So stay tuned for that. Evan, I think we have a fantastic 2026 ahead of us. We, of course, didn't mention a lot of big blockbusters that, audiences might be waiting for, whether or not it's movies like Supergirl or Toy Story 5, or if Wuthering Heights turns out to be big, the Emerald Fennell movie coming out on Valentine's Day. There's,
Avengers Doomsday.
Yeah, certainly a lot of movies coming out this year that have that box office power behind them. But yeah, you as always, you've been listening to the It's the Pictures podcast. You can send us an email at itsthepictures@gmail.com. You can follow us on Blue Sky at itsthepicpod.bsky.social. We have a letterbox page, or you can find us on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram and Blue Sky most of the time, at Max Colville on Blue Sky. I think it's on Letterboxd. I think it's like MH Colville is where you can find me. So yeah, follow me, see what I'm watching. Evan, where can I find you?
The listeners, you can hear me over each week at Spoiler Piece Theater, the weekly film review podcast, and you can also follow me on social media as Real Recon. That's real as in film reel, and I am on Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd under that handle.
All right, awesome. And on the newsletter, been plugging away. That's the itsthepictures.com newsletter, and I did a preview of the winter anime season most recently. I have a review probably going up shortly of the movie I'll be talking about today, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. And, just I think I'll have thoughts following the Oscar nominations. I like to do the whatever big records were broken, or little interesting tidbits from the award nominations. So that's what I enjoy writing about regarding that. Yeah, I also have an idea of I want to do a follow-up on how the newsletter's doing, letting the audience know that. So that's kind of in the plan soon.
Great. Let's hear about the Bone Temple.
All right. So taking over directing duties from Danny Boyle, Nia DaCosta of the Marvels fame, I guess most people would know her from. Me, I think I knew her work from the Candyman remake, which wasn't terrible, but she's working from the world that Danny Boyle and Alex Garland had kind of created. Alex Garland wrote this sequel, and it picks up immediately after the events of 28 Years Later, where I guess the young boy, I think his name is Spike, has kind of fallen in with this pack of degenerates known as the Jimmies, one of the older leaders who, he thinks his leader is the devil incarnate. And so he and his group of misfits kind of roam the world and just cause terror. So Spike over here has to just kind of survive that, because he's not really cool with that crowd. Meanwhile, a lot of emphasis is giving back to Ray Fiennes' character, who was introduced in the first 28 Years Later, who's like a doctor who's, still doing his doctor work in the middle of nowhere. And he has decided to risk his life to befriend one of the more rampant infected. And they give them the classification of being an alpha. And he kind of befriends this zombie. And they kind of have these chill moments where they both take morphine and they hang out together. They listen to music together. They kind of he's really pushing the limits of seeing if he can find humanity back in people who have been turned thanks to this illness. So that's kind of what's going on at the same time. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I think it's a continuation. I love the world that Boyle and Garland kind of created with the 28 Years Later. These two movies. At first, there was some worry if we'd get the third movie, because it was always envisioned as a trilogy, and Sony hadn't initially decided on it. But this film has an end stinger that kind of sets it up perfectly. And if they didn't make a third one, it would suck royally. So it's great that they've already kind of started production on it. Hopefully we'll see it to the finish line.
Yeah, I still need to catch up with 28 Years Later. I know you said you thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, I think I had it in my top 10 films last year. I know listening to people's reviews over the weekend, they thought like this was a lot better than that.
Okay. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily feel that way. I think this is like not quite as good as that, but it depends what you're looking for in a film, I guess. I think they're both good.
Hmm. Well, I do love 28 Days Later, and I feel like I haven't seen 28 Weeks Later in a long time, but I feel like it's not that strong.
Yeah, Weeks
and
isn't
but
that
I
good.
Yeah, but I'm glad that Danny Boyle came back to make another one, and this one also sounds intriguing.
What have you been watching lately?
Well, I finally Max caught up with an old favorite of yours. I know. I finally watched Oldboy for the first time, and I feel like I'm in a weird minority of people. I'm like, I did not care for Oldboy. I did
Really?
not like it. Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm not gonna like discolor this because I do really think the movie's great. But like, if you talk to our friend Andy Crump, it's like in his top four favorite movies.
I know you and Crump, we have it in such high esteem, and we watched it over on Spoiler Piece, and I was just like, wow, I really don't care for this movie. I see some elements of things that I liked. Like, I thought there was some really interesting editing and cinematography in it, but I was mostly just like grossed out by a lot of it. The incest subplots were just like gross to me. But there's so many like things that I just feel like the guy I thought was just like a dick. The lead character. I'm just trying to think of other things off the. It's been a couple weeks since I watched it, but I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh man, everyone loves this movie. Why? What's wrong with me? This is not working for me. Like on so many different levels.
Did you know of the twist before you saw it?
No, I didn't, and I was like, gross, gross. Oh my god, yeah, there was a lot of gross stuff in this movie. The incest aside, I feel like there was a lot of like gnarly, nasty stuff, and I can kind of see the through lines between that and Park Chan Wook's like other movies. So it feels like a natural progression. Some of the other films, like even No Other Choice, like I can definitely see commonalities in there, and I could see things that people would like. But I was really in shock, and it was even more shocking that both Megan and Dave were also on the same page and not liking Old Boy. Sometimes I like never know what movies like we will agree or disagree on Spoiler Piece, and that was one that I was really surprised that they were
So
just
was
like,
that the first time that they'd seen it too, or
yeah. Yeah, it was
really?
first time all around.
I do joke with people when they come over and like they're like looking at my films, and I'm like, you should really watch this film, Old Boy. And I just laugh to myself because it's definitely like an approachable film. I feel like if you handed that to someone and told them to watch it, they'd come back to you and say, "What the hell did you just have me
What
watch?"
did you make me watch? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I've thought you would be intrigued to hear that it was just totally not for me, given that I know how much you enjoy and how much Andy also. I was like,
Yeah, and we didn't talk very much about like No Other Choice. That didn't really work for you either, or
no, I mean, like I think a lot more of it worked for me than Old Boy. I feel like No Other Choice to me, I felt like was a really strong beginning and a really strong end, and a lot of what was in between was not working for me. And Old Boy, I was just like, I was kind of into it at first, and I was really enjoying some of the action. Like the whole hallway fight thing
right.
was really really good, really well done. And I really like the scene where he's running around the school and he's kind of chasing the old version, like his younger self. I thought that was extremely well done. And then a lot of the rest of it was just like, oh my god, this is dragging and gross and weird. On a lighter note, I finally saw Shrek for the first time, which I had never seen. It was one that we sat down, we watched with our daughter, and I very much enjoyed Shrek. And I was like, man, I really missed out by not seeing this earlier. Because this
Yeah,
is a fun movie.
I think the first one is really well done, and I think at the time, like applause for it was like, oh, look, this movie, it's kind of like turning its head on like what the Disney like tropes normally are,
Mm-hmm.
and like thankfully maybe Disney learned something from that because like some of their movies since Shrek have been more open minded. But no, Shrek is really funny, and I think the second one is worth watching too. I've never seen three or four, but the second one is worth watching.
Yeah, we actually started watching the second one. We haven't had a chance to finish it. Obviously, when you have a kid that you kind of
Hmm.
watch things in pieces sometimes. It's like we'll be like, we'll watch a few minutes of it, and then tomorrow night we'll watch a few minutes of it or whatever. So we started Shrek 2, and I was also enjoying it thus far. I don't think we were super far into it, maybe like a half hour or less. But yeah, okay, Shrek, hey, why not?
Yeah, but guess what? Maybe your child will be old enough to see Shrek 5 when it comes out in
I know.
2027.
Yep, because that is a coming, isn't it?
Yeah. Over here, my child's really been mainlining the How to Train Your Dragon franchise,
I remember those being good.
which I highly approve because I think they're all pretty good movies.
Yeah, I remember those being good. It's been a while since I've watched them, but yeah, I'm also gets my stamp of approval.
Yeah, and I think I talked about last year, Evan, where it's like when the live action remake came out, I was like, I can't hate this because it's exactly the same movie. But I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't know why you'd watch this over the animated one.
Right, equally puzzling to me.
But yeah, that's what we've been watching, and I guess that'll wrap it up for us this week.
Yeah, we'll be interested to see some of these movies on our lists. Hopefully, I'll do just as good a job this year as catching many of the ones that I've said I'm anticipating.
Maybe by the next episode you'll all have seen Send Help. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah.
All right, so that's from Max and Evan. Listen to It's the Pictures. We'll see you again in 2 weeks, and take
Yep.
care, everyone.
See you soon.